time to make the acquaintance of the filmmaker of Evil Dead.
I know it doesn't look very glamorous, but I'm talking to you from dab smack in the middle of one of Hollywood's biggest studios, Universal. And lurking somewhere behind me in one of these unattractive-looking trailers is the creative force behind one of the most successful low-budget horror movies of recent years, The Evil Dead, and its imaginatively titled sequel, The Evil Dead 2, Mr. Sam Raimi.
Say, I was just wondering, do they have blood banks in England?
No, but they have a Liverpool.
When The Evil Dead was released in 1982, it attracted rave reviews. Stephen King called it the most ferociously original horror film of the year. Yet the film had initially been turned down by every American distributor who had seen it. The Evil Dead was an independent production, financed by a group of doctors, lawyers and dentists from America's Midwest, and it marked the feature film debut of writer and director Sam Raimi, who remarkably was only 19 at the time.
There are two schools of thought, I think, for horror filmmakers. One is that the audience can always create something more horrible than you can show them, and the other school of thought is show them, everything. And I believe that both is true. I believe the audience can come up with something more horrible in their minds than I can show them, provided they're given the raw materials to construct something. And I also believe that I have got some pretty horrible things to show myself, so I try and mix and match. I try and scare them and weird them out with visuals, and I try and leave room for them to add their own ingredients to create.
Although this was his first feature, Sam had already directed a handful of Super 8 movies, which had given him the chance to develop a distinctive and confident style. Let's go back to the beginning. How did you get started in filmmaking in the first place? What kind of movies were you making before The Evil Dead?
Before The Evil Dead, my friends and myself, just a group of school chums, and I would make Super 8 comedies. Three Stooges comedies.
I think you're a punk. I'm not. What years you do with punks that don't know nothing?
No. Please, boys, control yourselves. Listen, you hit a man with glasses, would you? Oh. Oh, my glasses. Let's see. What? Ah! There they are. Yeah. Oh, my glasses.
Oh, it's you, Paul. I'm glad I ran across you.
There was a nucleus of about 6 of us who had this interest, and we all were split apart in different neighborhoods. We had a little neighborhood here, and Sam was over in his little neighborhood making Super 8 movies. Sam did a lot of magic, and so film seemed like a natural extension for him to do that. And so he was doing his silly little movies, and I was doing silly little movies. And another guy, Scott Spiegel, who co-wrote Evil Dead 2, was making like Three Stooges rip-offs, where he'd use the actual soundtrack but put in his own visuals. And then we kind of all hooked up in high school, and then we found that, you know, one guy had costumes and another guy had a good camera. So we combined all of our facilities, and then we were able to, on weekends, we just would go out and shoot.
Bruce Campbell starred in every Super 8 movie that we made because, very simply, he was the good-looking one and still is. So he said, the girls like you, we'll put you in front of the camera. The girls don't like us, we'll stay behind the camera. And only when Bruce was unavailable would we put ourselves in front of the camera.
But you show some raw acting ability in those. Why didn't you stay in front more? Why did you direct?
I don't think I showed any acting ability, and I stick my face in any movie that I can, truthfully, shamelessly, to get my mug on the screen.
And this is for all the times you mistreated me.
Hit him that hard?
I didn't hit him that hard. I hit him like this.
You did not. You hit him like this.
No, it was more like this.
Crazy. It was softer than that. It was like this.
Will you stop? Stop! Wait a minute. You forgot your suitcase.
Why are the Three Stooges such an influence on you? What do you like about them?
I like their physical comedy and their sound effects. You know, the hyper-real shticks that they do. And they just make me laugh. They just make me laugh, and I've seen them make big audiences laugh in the theaters.
We should have gone home like he said, you stubborn mule. Oh, why you... Get out. Oh!
Tell us about 6 Months to Live. That's not a Three Stooges plot, is it?
It's Three Stooge-like. And certainly we've ripped off, stolen blatantly, as 16-year-olds, many Three Stooges gags and did them ourselves. So it was greatly influenced by the Three Stooges.
So where would you show these films? In classrooms and at home? Or?
Yes, exactly. To the other students.
Would you charge money?
Sure. As much as we could get. Usually a quarter.
I'm the Pillsbury Doughboy with fresh cooking ideas. What are you doing? No one too near me. Help!
Sam and his school friends had ambitious plans. They wanted to raise money for a full-length feature. And although their Super 8s had been mostly comedies, they decided their first real film would be horror.
Sam and I first decided to do a horror film after doing research on what pictures did well in the markets. And at the time, which was the late 70s, there were still a lot of drive-ins, especially in the Midwest where we grew up. And there were forever horror films playing in the drive-ins on double bills and that, which we always saw and said, God, we can make something better than this. There's absolutely no doubt about it. So up until the time we decided to make a feature film, we had done mainly comedies and decided that horror is the entry level that most people use, and decided to make the ultimate experience in horror at the time.
Robert Tappert, Bruce Campbell, and myself all bought business suits and matching briefcases and dropped out of school. Then we worked as waiters, busboys, janitors, cab drivers.
So how old were you then?
18. And Bruce was 19 and Robert was 22 at the time.
We would sit down and pretend that we were businessmen. That was all part of the filmmaking process. We thought we had to do it because it never occurred to us to go to California because it was 3,000 miles away. And we thought we'd have as good a chance raising money independently, and it finally worked.
We first got jobs so that we could raise seed money. Then we hired attorneys to put together a legal offering saying, in legal terms, if X person invests X amount of money, they own X percentage in this movie that we're going to make. We then made a Super 8 movie called Within the Woods. And this was a small version of the screenplay I had written for Evil Dead. The reason we made this picture was to show the potential investors that these kids, us, that we could make a picture that worked, a horror movie that actually could scare them. I mean, that was our goal, at least. I hope it scared them.
Well, loser gets the dog.
We wanted to have a terrible creature, a spirit, something that floated through the woods at a different height than we're used to seeing things. So we used a shaky cam. We came up with a board where we mounted the camera in the middle, and the lens acted as the axis point. And it's ended up smoothing out the point of view because the longer the board was that the camera was mounted on, the jiggle, this effect, cinema verite there, decreased proportionate to the length of the board. So it gave us a very eerily smooth look, and it seemed to work out okay.
Within the Woods was made as the bait for potential investors, but the tricky part was to get them to watch it.